back to Brad's question, Nate, I'm going to pivot this into something that is on the board that got in a little bit late, but I wanted to give you this because there's a recruiting heavy conversation here. So what's up? Okay. I'll stop my transition.
No, I know. I'm ruining everything today. Can I just ask a question?
Sure.
There were 0 teams ranked in the top 10 in this most recent cycle that didn't have at least one, and I think all of them actually had 2 5-star prospects. Can Penn State have that in 2026? Like, who are the 5 stars?
Kevin Brown's going to be one, but yeah. I mean, they've already got a guy that I consider a 5-star prospect, but
yeah.
Okay.
So then it's like, is it Zion Ellie? Is it Emmanuel Iheanacho? Is there another guy that's going to be a 5-star in the development curve to them?
Honestly, like if I'm Penn State in the situation Penn State is in, like their 5 stars need to be like Brown, maybe like Rogers, that you get in on early. Like I have a tough time seeing them land Iheanacho, Zion Ellie, because those guys are 5 stars from the jump that are going to build up a price that's over the top. Like, and I understand everybody say just pay him whatever, but it's going to be excessive. It's going to be a situation where Penn State does not typically swim in those waters, and you got to figure out a different way to go about it. And as a developmental program, you can do that with recruiting too. You just got to be on them fast. You got to be on them early, and that's tough to do.
Yeah. The speed is expensive is what I said last offseason, but just good players are expensive, really, because just the elite talent traits are expensive. Nate, this one for you, I'm pivoting again. I don't know if you can answer this question, but hard not to feel like this is the best offensive line in Penn State's time under James Franklin. So what's the last time Penn State had such a well-rounded offensive line? One that you felt like, oh my gosh, this has very few weaknesses and it's going to likely carry the team or carry the offense at least.
Whoa. Carry the offense?
I mean, is that a poor characterization of what is it? The expectation of the run game is going to lead the way?
No, look, I mean, I certainly think that you can point to every good season that Penn State, I mean, really, most teams that have good seasons offensively have something to set the table. And yes, you need the skill position pieces and certainly the quarterback to make it go and to realize that potential. But you also have to have an offensive line that can keep those guys upright, that can give them that opportunity. I'm terrible at the comparison game. I don't remember who was on the 2022 offensive line.
Let me set this up then. Let me set up. This is the pivot. They have a great offensive line, a lot of guys coming back. PSU Ram says they built up amazing depth, but playing time is at a premium. There is this conversation where we started with Quinton Martin of we need to get him on the field so he doesn't transfer. This downward pressure, retaining players creates a downward pressure on the roster. How much should Penn State fans be concerned that high-level recruits that they've brought into the program are looking to the portal in the spring, undercutting that depth of talent? Like how real and how concerned offensive line, but yeah, just generally like those stack positions where players are coming back. How concerned should fans be that guys exit the program and you suddenly don't have the depth of talent that you thought you did?
Is the product good on the field?
Yeah,
that's great. But you know what's better is a dominant starting force there. No, I mean it makes sense. If you're looking at a scenario like running back where you're going to have 6 scholarship, 7 scholarship, and the position is as such that it's always one that churns like that. Like you always see guys that end up in the portal. Some do stuff, some don't. Like it's whatever. But no, I mean it's part of the game these days. That's a lot. Like
the sky is falling for Brad, right? So for the podcast audience, Brad, who asked the question about Quinton Martin, says he thinks they're going to lose a tight end, 2 offensive linemen, 2 receivers, 2 DBs, maybe a linebacker and a quarterback. So a mass exodus. That I would characterize that as a mass exodus. That is I think that's an alarmed view.
In the spring? That's the argument is that they're going to lose them in the spring. Well, why didn't they go in the like, I'm just asking in this hypothetical, why didn't all those players leave If they knew what their fate was, why didn't they leave in January? Look, here, I'll relay something that is somewhat equivalent and somewhat not. I had a conversation recently that shed light into the idea that people, and I think that this should maybe helpful, maybe not, and maybe not everybody agrees with it, but people should stop looking at college athletics as a 4-year cycle, right? As a thing that parlays 1 year into the next. Does it happen? Yes. But effectively, you have a 1-year group, right? That like, this is the team that you have this year. And then people are going to leave and people are going to come in. And the people that you keep are people that you keep because they decided, they chose, they made a conscious decision to stay, right? It's no longer just a given that this assumption that you will stay. All of this is going to happen every single year for every program across the country. And if you think about it in those terms, I think like just to me, there's a lot of wasted energy in the panic over what if, because everybody is facing what if. And the reality for Penn State, especially most recently in the coaching cycle, okay, what if Tom Allen leaves? All right, what if Penn State goes and steals Ohio State's national championship winning #1 ranked defensive coordinator, right? What happens if, like, there's just other people,
right?
The talent pool is significant. And the question is your organization appealing to other people that are talented to enter it? Do you have the resources for them? Do you have all of those things? If the answer is yes, then you should feel pretty comfortable as a fan. And I think that generally speaking, like, I mean, people talking about Cooper Cousins, these guys who are highly talented and as you said, potentially in a backup role. Like, okay, you are going to work as hard as you possibly can to keep those people in your program because you've already made the investment in them.
Right.
But if they don't stay, get somebody else.
Well, this is the reality of that portal door swings both ways, and the receiver position, like they just need one. Like they need to start a run of guys believing that they can come in and go to Penn State and go to the league and get yards and catches, and that's been a bit of a desert. It's been a wasteland in terms of the buzz for that position, as opposed to running back, where look at the assembly line that they've had in terms of over the James Franklin era. Fitz, did you have a point? Because I have a spin-off of this conversation for you after that.
2 points. First off, the House settlement is still very important in this because you need to cut your roster down to 105. You need to figure out what happens. And you're talking about the brutal nature of cutting not just walk-ons, but scholarship prospects as well. Like the guys that aren't going to contribute won't be here if they have to cut it down to that number. And that's really unfortunate for college football, but that's a different story. Last spring, Penn State's portal window was Keandre Lambert-Smith, which is a big deal. Malik Mega, Davon Townley, King Mack, London Montgomery, Golden Israel Achumba, and Malik McLean.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of where we're at with that. So, yes, I mean, the window is certainly open, but I don't think you're looking at, okay, you've got 5 offensive linemen and the 6th offensive lineman is looking to transfer because he's not one of the 5 offensive linemen. I think you're looking further down the list, which, those positions that he looked, or that Brad listed before. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, there's always going to be movement because you're going to go through and you're going to see the writing on the wall and you're not part of this equation moving forward. But at the same time, like, I think that we've convinced ourselves that if it's not a starter, then you're going to leave, which I don't think that that's the case. And I do.
And hasn't been evidence. There's been evidence of that necessarily.
Well, I think looking nationally, schools have been much better at retention this year, not just with their starters, but getting the guys back, whether that be financial, whether that be promises or whatever not promises, but like a vision to get them back onto the field. Like they've done much better with that. We went from trading backups in the portal to, yeah, we're just looking at guys that maybe aren't in the equation at all. So
Brad is desperate to find somebody who's going to leave. He's just throwing names out at this point. Brad, some people will leave. Like you're correct in saying some people will leave. We have seen players like King Mac leave as well. But what we're trying to say is like it feels like the fear here is overstated of losing all of your best depth and talent, because evidence has been that Penn State has been good at retaining those players and taking care of them and making sure that their roster that they recruit stays intact.